Welcome back everyone to another guide video, and in this one we'll be taking a look at how to create a swap space out of your SD card. Now the internal storage on the Dragon board doesn't have enough space to have a whole swap disk and store the file system as well. So we usually rely on external storage media as a swap space. Now times when you need a swap space is that you have a bit more data than the RAM can handle and you want to swap some data to be stored temporarily and accessed later, so you have more space in the actual RAM to work with. So what we are going to do is uh, use an external SD card and create a swap space or swap disk out of that, so that we can use it with our Dragon board and maybe go ahead and throw tons of data on there. Alright, so before we get into creating a SD card swap space, I really want to give you a visual demonstration of what happens when you create a swap space and what are the advantages. A very basic demonstration. So what I have done is I've gone ahead and written a program that eats 100 megabytes of RAM space every second and loops over and over again, and then what we'll do is wait for the kernel's killer to go ahead and kill that program and see how much memory we can allocate with and without an SD card based swap space. So let's go ahead and run that. So I've named it mem eater because that's what it does, and it has started. So we'll just wait until it runs out of memory and gets killed. And that's around what you'd expect. 1 gigabyte of RAM, and a single application can mostly take advantage of the 600 odd megabytes that are free. So let's go ahead and start creating an SD card swap space, and for that first you will need an SD card. So I have a 16 gigabyte class 10 SD card. You might want to go for the fastest available SD card there is, because swap space does use a lot of I/O. So the faster your SD card is, the better the performance would be, and with an SD card you really shouldn't expect too much performance, but this should do. As you can see, as soon as I inserted the SD card, a bunch of text came up, and that's mainly because it's saying the SD card has been inserted, and it's a 16 gigabyte or 14.9 gigabyte free SD card. And let's go ahead and format it. So we'll need one clean single partition. So let's go ahead and we'll be using an application called gdisk. Let's go ahead and create a new MBR partition. For that we type O, press enter, and then agree to proceed. Next we need to create a new partition, so that would be N, press enter. Partition number 1 would be default, press enter. Again we'll go with the default sizes here. Now you can change the size or you can keep what it is, so we'll go with the default, and the file system type is Linux, but we want it to be Linux swap, so we can press L to show all the codes, but we know that it's 8200, so we go and press that, so it has selected Linux swap. So that means now we have a 16 gigabyte swap space done, and what we can do is go ahead and hit W to write all the changes, press enter, and that is done. The program has exited. We are at the prompt again. Now we need to reboot so that it takes in the new partition table, and that should be as simple as this. Wait for it to come back up. Alright, so we are rebooted and back at the prompt. Let's go ahead and format the new partition as swap. So the command is sudo mkswap, and then the partition path, that would be /dev/mmcblk1p1, and press enter, and that should do it. So new swap space, 14.9 gigabytes, all good, but we still need to tell the operating system to use this as a swap space. So for that, edit the fs tab file under /etc, and that should and what we need to do is add a string that says, so this is our partition, there's no mount point, and it's a swap partition, and the rest is pretty standard. So quit. That's it, our fs tab is now edited. Now we need to reboot once more for the final changes to take place. Alright, we are booted back. Alright, so now what we can do is go ahead and type the command free, and that should show us our 16 gigabytes of swap space right there. And then we can now run the mem eater program again and see the magic happen. So 100, 200, again remember the last time it ran it was at 600, 400, 500, and now it has started to swap. Again, the SD card is very slow, it has not crashed. Alright, now it has allocated 700 megabytes, moving on to 800, and it would keep on going until all of the swap space has also been consumed, and it will finally crash. So again, we don't really want it to go all that way, so let's go ahead and kill it. Now again, this really makes your system too slow, so use it carefully. So that's about it, a very small demonstration on SD swap space. We'll be looking more into different types of swap space in our next video. So thank you so much for watching.